Okay, so as an English teacher, I have gone through my credentialing program and I have gotten a master's degree, and they've given me a lot of books, but I haven't found any of them useful. The ones that I did find useful were ones that I either found on my own or were suggested to me by other teachers. One of them was given to me at a professional development. So they're really the things that I've curated that have actually been really helpful to me and that have really been specific to my content and what I try to teach. So the first one is They Say, I Say. And this one is by Gerald Graff and Kathy Birkenstein. And this book, while it's pretty dense, I'm not going to lie, but this book has actually really good resources in it. And what I did, I've worked with my other teachers around campus to do this, but what this book is actually produced for my students that's been really helpful is this packet here that I distribute to all my students at the beginning of the year. I make it hot pink so they cannot lose it in the black holes that are their backpacks. But I've basically taken the sentence templates because that's what this book is about. It is using sentence templates and sentence frames in order to help students write better and more critically. And I've taken the resources, the ones that I think are the most helpful, or the ones that are most needed for my students, and I basically put it into this nice little packet, and I organize the templates by what they're trying to do in the essay. So the first box is introducing what an author says, and then there's all the templates that they might need in order to introduce what an author is saying. There's introducing debate. There are templates for introducing a quotation. This is the one that my students go to probably the most because they have a really hard time embedding quotations into their essays. So I always force them to have this out on their table. Even when we're taking like district assessments and stuff, I tell them like, this is a tool that I gave you, you should use this. But it has the templates for how to embed, but also using better introductions for the book says or the quote says. I don't know. They do the same thing over and over again, so I encourage them to use these. Explaining quotations, which is really hard for them to do. They understand how to summarize a quotation or what they're trying to say, but they don't really know how to criticize it or how to think beyond summary. So this helps them with that. It has more for, arguments, disagreeing with somebody, making a concession, but also establishing your own claims. And then the last page is just a page of transitional words that they can use for different things. There's words for adding ideas, making contrasts, comparing, citing an example, showing results. So this is something that came directly from this book, and I use this every time we write. I send it bulk out to print shop. I make like 500 copies because they're gonna lose it sometimes, and I force them to have it out. At the beginning of the year, I tell them specifically you have to use these templates. Towards the end of the year, I start telling them, okay, you need to not use this particular one because there's always going to be ones that they like more than others, or I tell them that they need to only use it once, or they need to try and come up with their own, and that again helps with differentiation for your higher level students. Tell them that they can't use these anymore, that they need to come up with their own, or you start taking away their crutches, like the ones that they use every single time, and you tell them you need to use a different one, and they eventually get really comfortable and they don't need it anymore, but I still force them to have it out. The next book is Read-A-Side by Kelly Gallagher. This book changed how I viewed reading in the classroom because it's basically about the bell. It's basically about how schools are killing reading for fun. Because if you think about it, our students, when they encounter reading, if they're not already reading at home on their own, if they're not already self-motivated readers, then the only time they ever encounter reading is when we're shoving it down their throats and forcing them to read it. And if it's not something that they're interested in or not something that they like, then they develop this bad taste for reading, and then it's never fun. It's always just this horrible chore that they have to do. This book gives a lot of strategies as to how to fix that, how to make reading more enjoyable, how to improve literacy by actually just getting them to read anything that they are interested in. Reading is reading, and it will help them overall as long as you make it less of a chore and more of something that they want to do. And that's what this book really helps with. Kelly Gallagher is also just like a genius and the best. This is his Write Like This book, and this is teaching real world writing through modeling and mentor text. And what he does here is he comes up with a lot of different strategies for different writing assignments, but also breaking it down so that the students actually see some type of connection to real world, and that improves the engagement for the students. And so when I'm dealing with, like right now, my seniors, they have very little interest in anything. But if I give them some assignment that they feel connected to or they have some ownership over, I'm likely to get better results. And that's what this book is really doing, just upping engagement, practicing making connections, but also practicing some pretty high-level writing. Just one example out of the text is interpreting song lyrics, which can really be, added to any poetry unit. But he has the students like listen to the song, and then they talk about, what does it actually mean, and then they write it down, and they have a little essay where they explain it. It's just really good for helping students make connections to their writing. The last one is Teaching Arguments by Jennifer Fletcher. It looks like this. This one was just really helpful for me because I was really trying to up my students' ability to think about rhetorical comprehension, and I was like, how do I even begin teaching them that? What do I do? But this book gave me very specific ideas of how to do that and very specific strategies, which I like. I don't like the vague, like, oh, just, try to get them to understand. I don't like that. I want, like, this is how you do it. And this is what this book is, and I like that it made it very easy for me to immediately use in my classroom. Like, I took one of the ideas out of it, we used it in class, and I had really awesome results with it. So those are the books that I really, really like.